I'm here with Brennden Alder of Alder Outlaws VW Racing.
That's
How are
awesome.
you, mate?
Good, mate, you?
Yeah, not too bad. And you've got a passion that is a little bit different. It is a car passion, but it's in a niche,
Certainly is.
and it's VW Racing, funnily enough.
Racing of all sorts, so drag racing, circuit racing. We've set Volkswagens up to go off-road. Anything and just about everything in our family that's Volkswagen orientated has been modified in some shape or form.
I've invited you on to go through some of the history of how your family, and it's a very long history,
Yep.
first got involved in VWs, not just racing, but as a family, you guys, I think you said pretty much everyone in the family owns a VW, and anyone who doesn't is disowned.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think you mentioned one person in the family that
the black sheep of the family, yes.
that's it. But look, let's go back. So it spans, I think, from what you said, around over it would be almost seven decades.
Yeah, nearly 70 years, yeah.
70 years, 7 decades of family fanaticism
Yeah.
in VW. So do you want to explain where it all started?
Yeah, so back in I think it was the early mid-50s, my dad's uncle bought a split-screen Kombi from the Volkswagen dealership. I think it was the one in the Valley. It was an ex-demo, and he just went, oh, this is great. I can seat all these people in it, and I can, do things that I've never been able to do in any other car.
Yeah.
And he was doing beach tours up Double Island Point. And back at that time, the only thing four-wheel drive was like an ex-Willys Army Jeep kind of thing from the US. And he set this thing up and put all these chairs in it and made these wide wheels and had dual wheels with these rims welded together. And he used to take people up Double Island Point and do beach tours.
Yeah, because you indicated off camera that he actually saw the van and thought, gee, I can fit X amount of people in there.
Yep,
There was nothing else really other than on the market other than station wagons
correct,
at that
yeah.
time?
Yeah, back around that area, you had a big American station wagons, that's about it.
So he was
most
probably
things-
really one of the first tour companies when you think about
Could
it.
have been, yeah, and you never know.
Yeah,
Could have
because of
been.
that type, get to go actually out, and he actually took it on the beach.
Yeah,
too.
drove it
was-
on the beach, yeah.
Yeah, so
people think about it now and go, wow, you took one of those things on the beach. You'd get the purists would be crying, but back then it was, no one thought that they'd be the value that they are today, so yeah.
So his love sort of got other people in the family interested. So who's next? Who was next?
Well, my grandmother, who's his sister, her and my grandfather have owned, I don't know how many cars, to be honest. Volkswagen, from Beetles to Type 3s to Kombis, from the split screen era right through to the bay window, the 70s models.
Yeah.
And most of them have actually been modified as well. So it's in the blood. You can't help it. Once you're in this family, it's Volkswagens and that's it.
So excuse the ignorance, but for some of us who don't know combis, split screen, what's that referring
So
to?
the split screen is the windscreen that's got the panel in the middle, and you've got two separate panes of glass. So they run from the early 50s right up until 68.
Yeah.
And then from 68 onwards, you have what they call a bay window, which has got like a standard one big windscreen at the front.
And that was a curved window
It's-
from memory.
Yeah, the windscreens on the bay windows has got more of a curve in them, whereas the split screen, it's just like these two flat panels that
Yeah,
are super aerodynamic.
that's interesting. So we'll see some photos of those a little later, and as we're talking, I'll throw up some video and photos to keep people interested, so they're not
Yep.
looking at our mugs.
Yep, that's a great idea.
I think so too. So give us some history on how many combis you've got in the family.
It's hard to say. I reckon as a total, like Volkswagen branded cars in the family, we'd be probably close to 30.
So varying years of make and model, including modern ones that are actually
Correct.
being raced as well.
Yeah, yep.
So you are a racing family, but you're also collectors,
Yeah.
basically,
Yep.
of the Kombi. And you've been in magazines, you've been on the media. You're
Yes.
joining me here today, which
Yeah,
is
yep.
good. I appreciate
Yep.
your time.
All good.
And with these particular vehicles, the Kombi seems for you the choice.
The predominant, yeah, it is. I guess it's always been a car that's just so practical. You can seat 8, 9 people in one, or you could rip all the seats out and load it to the hilt and carry more gear and big bulky things that you can't put in a normal car.
Yeah.
We have used them for everything. I've lost count of the amount of times I've used mine to move house for myself, for my friends, deliver phone books for charities and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
pretty handy kind of car.
So yours is a more traditional style of orange and white. I noticed. Was that the original paint that you've repainted? Because you've done them up too, by the way. Most of these have been either restored to original or completely modified. Now,
Yes.
you said most of them are actually modified.
Yeah.
Because you guys race them. So
We've got a couple of restored originals in the early split screen stuff. So my cousin Daniel's got the second oldest Kombi in Australia.
How old's that?
1953.
Okay.
And it's got a pretty cool history. So it was delivered to a German furniture factory just after World War II
Okay.
by the Allies to help Germany rebuild infrastructure and stuff after the war. And all this thing used to do was drive between all the warehouses on this big allotment building furniture.
So I wouldn't have done too many kilometres?
No, it has very low kilometres. The company was called Hookler,
Okay.
and they used that for 35, 40 years. And then it got sold, I think, to someone in England, and they had it for a while.
Was that a collector?
It was an enthusiast.
Enthusiast,
I'd say it was an enthusiast.
Yes.
And all it did was just carry timber around, and it copped a bit of a hiding, having timber just thrown in the back and on the roof. So it had a few dings and marks, but mechanically wise, it was pretty good.
So what was done to it to restore it? Because it's you've got some photos there. It still looks close to original, and I imagine the colours is the colour original.
Yeah, the original dove blue.
Yeah.
It made its way from England to Pennsylvania in the States, and I think it had a bit of a birthday with the owner there.
Okay.
And then my cousin bought it from there to here. So the car's actually done more kilometres on a boat than it has on the road.
Okay. It's interesting. If cars could speak, it'd be nice to know what it saw of its journey over that time.
It would be amazing.
Because if it's 53, then that is 70, coming up to 70 years old.
Yeah.
So that's lived the life of...
More than most humans.
Exactly. And survived. So that tells
exactly.
you how, even though, it's taken enthusiasts to, ensure it's either restoration or maintenance.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, that demonstrates that the vehicles, when looked after, do last.
Exactly right. And it's all real steel, so there's no plastic in it. And the cool thing about it, it's left-hand drive.
Yeah.
But it's a kilometres an hour speedo, so it's in the metric system.
Okay.
When Daniel got the car here in Australia, I think it was about 2012, it only had 22,500 kilometres on the clock.
Wow, that's unbelievable to think it hadn't done that.
Yeah.
So is the motor original?
The motor at some stage has been changed, but it has got the original style of motor in it at the moment. Yeah. So
any mods to it?
No, it's pretty much stock.
Yeah.
When we got it, a few things have been changed. So my cousins set about sourcing the original type tyres and bumpers and a few little bits and pieces like that to make it all sort of period correct, if you know what I mean.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Because stuff for those things, especially those earlier ones, they're pretty hard to find. So they're called what they call a barn door, and they're up to sort of 54 in Australia. We didn't.
So
really
what's
see
the
them.
reference to barn door? Is it actually reference to the doors?
Yeah, to the doors, and they don't have the little peak over the roof, over the windscreen at the front. They sort of the roof comes down and then the windscreen's flat with them. So that's the easiest way to discern. And they don't have any indicators. They've just got the little semaphore flicks out from the pillar at the side.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So and very primitive.
Yeah.
Like you've got a speedo and that's it.
Okay.
Fuel gauge, or you just drive until you run out of fuel, and then you just turn the tap on the floor, and that gives you another couple of litres in reserve to get to the fuel station.
Talk to some other vehicles in the family.
Well, my cousin Scott has got, it's a 1957 model split screen. It's powered by a 3-litre turbocharged Porsche 6.
Okay.
It's the second fastest Kombi in the world over the quarter mile. It runs 9.83 at just under 140 mile an hour.
Okay, I don't think they were made for that, but that's
not really designed to do it. No, there's a few mods you've got to do to make them that fast and make them go straight and be safe.
So that's the Kombi that's got the pretty impressive photo,
the wheel stand and everything like that.
Cool.
That's it.
So we'll be showing that as we speak.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Now, with that particular vehicle, though, there's a backstory to how that one got reinvigorated into a new life with a race vehicle.
It was he found it in a paddock on its side. Someone had cut all the floor and the chassis and everything out of it, so it was just basically 2/3 of the body, and the bottom of it was pretty rusty. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot you could probably do with it. Mm-hmm. Someone's hit it with an axe. It's got bullet holes in it and everything like that.
This is on a farm or some property somewhere.
Yeah, it was found out the back of Ipswich.
Okay.
So anyway, I'd sort of sown the seed in his head about coming drag racing because I'd already started doing it, and my brother was building a car and he was racing, and Scott went, "Oh yeah, that'd be fun. I wouldn't mind doing that." And he had this old Kombi ute that he decided to just slap an engine together and just go and have some fun.
Yeah, sure.
And he came out, had some fun, and he's hooked. Mm-hmm. I've got to build a proper race car, and that was where this thing sort of came about. And people laughed at him and said it couldn't be done, and that's the worst thing you can say to him because then he's going to set out to prove you wrong.
Yes.
And he has. Mm-hmm. And there's too many people now that go, "Oh, you can't do that because, well, hang on, he's one of the fastest cars here." So
yeah, sure. And in the world, you said.
Yeah, absolutely. He
you said he's the fastest
in Australia. Yep.
And second fastest in the world.
Yeah.
So he would be chasing to be the fastest, I imagine, if he's a competitor, or not really?
He is competitive. The guy who is the fastest, it's basically got a supercharged, big cubic capacity V8 in it, and it runs a 7-second quarter mile.
Oh, really?
So we got a fair bit of work to catch him.
Probably a jet engine, maybe.
Yeah, well, there are a few out there with jet engines in them, and he's still, a little bit quicker than them. So
okay,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool to know that you're up against jet engines.
Yeah.
It tells me it's fast.
It's crazy. It's crazy fast.
Crazy.
And I mean, he's competed in like things like the Winter Nationals, which is the largest drag racing event in the Southern Hemisphere. And the car draws that much attention to itself, and then him doing these massive wheel stands and things like that.
And he does burnouts and things in it.
Massive big burnouts. The kids in the crowd just love it.
Yeah.
And you get crew from the big dollar top fuel race teams and stuff will actually come walking through the pit area to find him, to have a look at the car and take photos because they just think it's the coolest thing they've ever seen.
Yeah.
This Kombi running sub 10-second quarter miles. So it draws a lot of attention to itself, and YouTube-wise, some of the videos have had, over 1.5 million up to 4 million hits. So he's a bit of a, like, when he does something crazy, I'm like, oh, the internet sensation's back.
Now, you said his vehicle's actually quite well known and recognisable. If anyone who goes to drag meets would have probably seen
it or heard about it, correct? Yeah.
So I guess that's when you get to that level with a particular vehicle like that, that uniqueness means that people are interested in it and or have seen it or heard about it. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure he's happy about that too.
He is, yeah.
Now, you in drag racing, you do some other racing as well, but you've got other people who you wouldn't expect to race them. Do you want to give a little bit of backstory about some of the females in the family that are racing?
Yeah, so we've got three of our female family members race. My cousin Scott, his wife Yuri, she's from South Korea. And one of the first times she drove in Australia was actually up in Warwick on the little 8th mile drag strip, and that was one of the first times that she drove.
Yeah.
And she was as nervous as all hell and didn't know what to do, and we told her how the lights work, and she went out and had a go, and then she just absolutely loves it.
Now she knows how the lights work.
She knows how the lights work, and she is extremely hard to beat, and she pretty much almost every year makes the final for her category. And there's certain people that we race against in the Volkswagen circles who actually will deliberately try not to pair up against her because they know how good she is.
Okay, yeah. And you reckon it's all in how she reads the lights.
Yeah.
So whoever explained the lights to her from the get-go,
too good a job.
That's what I reckon
and
too.
And she's got just a killer reaction time. She's really, really good. My auntie Liz, who's my cousin Scott's mum, she's in her 70s, and she brings her little Golf out and races that. She used to come out and watch.
Yeah.
And then we sort of said, you should bring your Golf out and race it. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
First time that she raced, she reckoned she was so nervous she couldn't concentrate. And after she did her first run, she came back into the pit area and she got out of the car, and the adrenaline, she said, is like nothing I've ever felt.
Yeah.
And she's like, now she's hooked. She just loves doing it.
How old is she?
She's in her 70s.
Wow, that's unbelievable, but shows what's possible
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you fall in love with VW.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. But she absolutely
racing.
just, like, she loves it. She gets a real kick out of it.
And it's a Golf too. What model? What year?
2012, I think it is.
Yeah. Have
Straight.
they is it modified at all?
No, it's
a
just
standard?
it's just pretty much standard. Yep. And she doesn't even really empty any of the rubbish out of the boot or anything. She just leaves the stuff in there and races.
Now, I keep using the word modified. Now, there's a bit of a history to the family too, because you have owned stock standard VWs in various makes and models and years.
Yep.
But your father was a mechanic,
Correct. Yep.
and your uncle
Yep.
is is a performance mechanic.
Yes.
Thus, the combination of the two with racing. So, do you want to speak to your growing up in a family of mechanics and then the specialisation?
Yeah. So my dad's been a mechanic for since he was sort of in his late teens. So he's retired now.
Yeah.
But he sort of started off Volkswagen, Beetles and stuff, and him and his brother were always trying to outdo each other as to whose Beetle would be quicker, and trying to find little tips and tricks to be one over the other kind of a deal. And then his youngest brother, he had a real passion to start doing them and restoring them, and then he now runs his own business building engines. And
is he the brother that you said, or is he the individual in the family who you said was actually not happy with the speed at which the car went?
Everything's got to be faster.
Yeah, because he's the one that started the modification of them, was he?
My dad did a bit.
Yeah.
And his brother, and then my uncle. I guess it's just in the blood.
Yeah.
He's just going to follow the lead of big brothers. So
yeah, so it's like, okay, we want faster.
Yeah. So he bought a beach buggy, and that was great. And he wanted to go on the beach. And then no, it needs to be bigger and badder, and I need bigger wheels, and then the engine's got to be more performance orientated, and it sort of just went from there. And then he sort of then decided, I'll do this as a business. And he's probably one of the the best engine builders in Australia when it comes to air-cooled engines.
Okay.
And then he branched out into the little Formula Vs that I showed you a picture of. So they use a Volkswagen engine, gearbox, and brakes and suspension kind of a deal. And then a little open-wheeler chassis. So they're the basic entry-level motorsport into Australia.
Okay.
So when you step up in ranks, you sort of come from the go-karts to Formula V, Formula Ford, and then you step up and progress through there. Very cool little car.
Yeah.
He designed and built his own car from scratch. So he designed the chassis.
Yeah.
He done all his engine, gearbox, and then designed his own body panels and everything as well. So very unique little car, very cool setup. The guy, Paul, that drove the car and owns it, he has won, I think it's like 5 Queensland state titles with that car. So testament to obviously, he is a good driver, but the car itself is just ridiculously good at what it does.
Yeah.
And we use it in the drag racing as well. We bring it out, and if Paul can't come and race, well then one of the nephews, one of my cousins, will jump in and they'll have a run for the weekend in it, and mate, we have a ball.
Yeah. How do you go at the racing?
Oh, yeah, too bad. I haven't raced for a little while. I had a car accident a few years ago, so for me, getting a helmet on the last couple of years has been a bit tough with whiplash and a neck injury. But previous to that, I go all right. I made the final one year and got pipped by a close family friend on the line. He nailed me, but he's always a killer on the light, and I had a bit of a nana nap and he got me. But
is there rival? You guys would be racing each other quite frequently too, I imagine, because it is a niche. So you guys go up against each other. Is there some family rivalry?
There is, yeah. And the funny thing is like, my brother's got a Beetle.
Yeah.
It's a full drag car, so it's a full custom chassis with a Beetle body over the top, turbo EFI engine. Yes. So it's make a big power. And then when he comes up against my cousins with the Kombis, it's amazing how that the Beetle's quicker than the Kombi, but one will psych the other out.
Yeah.
And it always pushes one against the other, and somebody guarantee to PB every time we race each other.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. So
and there's a lot of trash talking.
Yeah, there's a family. That's what
it's never ending.
Yeah. So
it's good fun.
You got the racing side of things. A couple of the vehicles have been shown and have won shows as well. So they're not all race vehicles. Some of the enthusiasts in your family have actually decided, okay, not going to race this. I'm going to look after it, and it's like you say, it's more stock standard. And do you want to speak to the owner of the?
Yeah, so my cousin Scott, who's got the fastest bus in Australia, fastest Kombi in Australia, he's also got a 1956 split screen, fully restored himself.
Yeah.
So interior, body paint, and went through the whole thing. And it won a swag of trophies when he first bought it out. Every show he practically went to, it would win the category for best restored original split screen. Car of the show. The list went on.
Yeah, sure.
It was pretty successful on the show scene. My cousin Tim, who's got a later model, it's a 75, I think it is, panel van.
Yeah. And
it was owned by a friend of mine who I actually went with him to buy it back in the day from an old German guy at Algester.
Okay.
And then Peter got it, and he was going to do one, this, that, and everything else with it. And anyway, it never ended up. And then Tim offered him some money and bought it. And then spent 2,000 hours in bodywork repair and rust and dings and scrapes and got it to the super straight car that it is today.
Yeah.
And it's won a swag of trophies as well, and cars of the show, and wins its category and best paint and things like that. He also drag races it, and he also circuit races it as well. And everyone's like, oh, I can't believe you'd put that on the track. And he goes, I'm not spend all this time and money to just sit and look at it.
Yeah.
I want to drive it and enjoy it. And people are super impressed with how something, well, he calls it the bread box, how it actually goes around a racetrack. So that in itself is pretty cool as well.
Yeah, that's good.
We've got my wife who raced for the first time a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
The fastest she's probably ever driven on the roads, the speed limit, maybe 100, 110. And it's a progression to get to that speed limit. It's not a race or anything like that. She's a very sedate driver. And
but what do you do? What happens when you get her on the...
Please stop getting speeding tickets, wife. Thank you. Love you. I put her in... I've got an Amarok, so the big four-wheel drive.
Yes.
And I said to her, do you want to race that at Warwick? And at the Volkswagen meeting? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And anyway, and then she just one day said to me, yeah, I'll have a go. So I bought her a helmet and got her all the safety gear that you need to compete. Put her out in the car, showed her how the lights work again. And she was very nervous, white knuckle fever on the steering wheel. But after she did two runs down the track, and she's like, yeah, this is actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
And now she absolutely enjoys it. And she's going to race again this year.
Yeah. So
we've had a couple of years off just with a few family things going on. But, she's going to have another crack at it this year in the biggest car in the field. And it's by all means not the slowest either. So it's modified, of course.
That's your car? That's
absolutely.
So you guys can't help yourselves when it comes to these vehicles. No. Neither. You're not happy with it.
Even our lawnmowers are modified.
So what's the next generation of Alders looking like?
It's looking pretty good. We've got my cousins and my brothers' kids are all sort of expressing interest, and they're getting to the age now where they're like almost sort of thinking about, it's not far off before I get my learner's permit.
Yeah.
So we're already sort of going, well, once you get your learner's permit, we're putting you on the track because there's a best way to learn, and it's a safe environment. I mean, when you're talking, in just a sort of standard type road car, you're not excessive speeds. It's just straight line, wait for the light, just push your foot flat and go. Change gears, but it teaches them a bit of car control as well. Before they're even getting on the road, which I think's very important these days, because there's a lot of people who've got a license that shouldn't have a license. The way they drive on the street, and then even right down to our youngest. So my cousin Scott's little boy, Eli, he's already got his own Kombi.
Oh, yeah.
It's stashed away in the garage. He's got a full-size one that's going to be a future resto job. But he's got his little motorised Kombi that he sits in, and he buzzes around in the pits, and the people come to the racetrack and then come to our pit area to talk to us about the cars and everything and see him driving around, and they just think it's the greatest thing.
So that will show a photo of a little later, and it gets transported with all the other vehicles.
Correct. Yeah,
It's on the back of a truck,
Yep.
because you don't drive these things to the meets. You literally have
Not
them all.
not all of them. Some of them we drive. Some, but majority. If we're doing longer distance, events, then we put them on a truck because it's just less wear and tear, less damage.
And they're head turners when they're on the road on the truck.
Absolutely. When you've got 3 combis on a truck, and then there's another car towing another combi and another one towing another combi.
Yeah.
You want to sort of pull out and pass someone slow, but there's people just sitting alongside you with their phones out, just videoing as they're going past. So
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing watching the reaction of some people.
Yeah.
And
No, I imagine
they shake their heads and just like...
So they're actually videoing as they go past.
Yeah, videoing, taking photos. You stop somewhere and everybody wants to come up, and there's 2 types of people in this world as far as Volkswagens are concerned. Yeah. It's the people who hate them.
Yes.
Or the people who have owned them in the past and wish that they'd never sold them.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, it's the best car I've ever owned, but gee, I wish I'd never sold it now. Because now they see how much they're worth.
You said there's a lot of purists out there that don't like some of the stuff that you guys have done to some of these vehicles.
Yeah, there's a few, yep.
But you've argued, particularly with the older ones, like the second fastest in the world is actually been salvaged. It was on its side out in a paddock, and it would be still stuck there rusting away. It's had, like you say, bullets in it and axes.
It was a bit of a basket case.
Yeah, and you've revitalised it, and people look at it and they say, oh, it's all chopped down, it's not the same. And you're like, well, the truth is it's a second lease on life. It actually is a car that now can be appreciated, not just for what you've modified it into, but at the end of the day, and you've actually kept it true to form, because on the front of the vehicle, there's still the axe marks and the bullet marks.
The bullet holes are still on the side. We've left it with the rusty patina.
Yes.
And it just adds character.
Yeah, so you haven't tried to paint that and make it look like a dragster or anything like that. You've left it like it was when it came out of the paddock. Obviously, the chassis was revamped because you said that was almost falling away.
Yeah, so
the motor's not the same.
No, definitely not. It's got a couple extra cylinders and a bit more power, but we're actually in the throes of building another drag bus at the moment, so it'll be based on a dual cab Kombi Ute.
Yeah.
And we've actually bought an engine from the States. We basically bought a front cut out of a Volkswagen car that we don't see here. Okay. It's only in the UK and in the USA. And it has actually got a W12, so it's a 12-cylinder aspirated engine in it. So basically your Bugatti Veyron and things like that, it's the same family of engine. Okay. So we're actually going to use that engine in this Kombi. Okay. So we're keeping the Volkswagen in the family. It's not air-cooled per se.
Aren't you giving away your wing keel a little bit there to competitors if they're going to find out what's coming? You want to stay on top of the game.
That's all right. They'll know what's coming because it's going to be a quick car. I mean, they're
sounds like it.
450 horsepower straight out of the factory, and we can do a few tweaks and changes here and there and get a bit more. So it'll be another unique drag car as such. So it's going to be well engineered. It'll be a good car.
So the thing is, the passion doesn't just go to the VWs and things like that. You've got that history of mechanics and things, but the panel beating, the paint work.
Yeah.
They're all within the family as well.
Absolutely.
So it's going filtering down through the family. You're not outsourcing this stuff. This is actually all happening within the Alder Racing.
Yeah, pretty much. So my uncle, panel beater, spray painter by trade. One of the best panel beaters I've ever seen. Yeah. And I've been around the auto industry for 25, 30 years, and some of the stuff he does still amazes me. How good he gets things. Yes. And doesn't like using filler and bog, and he wants everything straight.
Yeah. Is it easier to work with some of these vehicles though? Because some of them are steel and not easier to work with, but easier to get the straight panel and leak.
Well, yes and no. Yeah. Because combis are not meant to be straight. They actually are sort of a bit wavy down the sides, and they weren't built to be straight as a die and showy. And the fact that he's got some of them straight is. There's a lot of hand finishing and a lot of times that's sort of basically his trade background.
And your dad did that as well, but he was a little bit of that?
He did a little bit, not as much. Yeah. He was sort of more the mechanical side of things. Okay. But out of my uncle having that ability to do rust and panel and paint and things like that, he's taught my cousins the basics and his boys as well.
Yeah.
So it's been passed on.
Yes.
And I know the basics. I wouldn't say I'm the best.
Did you paint your Kombi?
No, when I bought it, it was already painted.
So you're being lazy then.
Yeah. It needs a paint job.
So what have you done?
Paint's starting to peel off a bit, but
what have you done? What have you done to that? You said slightly modified.
So mine, we got it. I've owned that car now since 1994. I bought it off a mate of mine who'd bought it off another friend of mine.
All right.
And he said, you got 12 months to get it roadworthy and transferred over into your name. So he just kept driving it.
Okay.
And then when it come time for the roadworthy to be done, he got this list as long as your arm of all these things wrong with it. Okay. And he didn't want to spend the money on it and didn't have the money. So I bought it nice and cheap.
Yeah.
Drove it to my uncle's and said, here's the roadworthy list. What do we need? And anyway, so we went through the list and then we just started sourcing all the bits for it. And I think it took a week, 2 weeks, and we had everything fixed and converted it from an auto to a manual.
Yeah.
And went and got a roadworthy. And my original idea with that car was fix it up, get everything sweet on it, and then sell it and make a quick dollar.
Okay.
And after driving it for a month, I went, I can't sell it.
Yeah, can't get rid of it.
I love driving it too much. So
yeah, and you've still got it.
And I've still got it now.
Yeah, and that's where I came and connected with you.
Yeah.
Because I actually knew that you had the Kombi. But what I didn't know, I went out to fix your computer. Yeah. To do another job, like was working on a computer, and you're got all these little mini Kombis displayed, and
you got the little
photos,
the display cabinet there, and then
trophies.
Photos and trophies and stuff. Yeah,
and I asked the question. I'm like, what is this? Please explain.
Yeah, it's an obsession.
Understatement.
Some people think you're crazy.
I was going to say, that's an understatement. I've seen his place and his little corner, and I'm sure there's more that isn't on display.
And some of my family members, my cousins and stuff, have got way more than I have.
Oh, yeah.
They have got way more.
I mean, there's 70 years of history in this family with these vehicles, and not just in modifying, racing, showing.
Yeah, well, some of my cousins claim that they were conceived in the back of a Volkswagen.
Yeah, which is probably true.
I said, it is probably true, but I said, I don't want to know any more information than that.
And no one's probably ever been game to ask, and if they did, they'd probably just get a stare as if, are you kidding? Of course,
exactly.
What are you asking for?
It's the proper Catholic.
So we'll go through some photos, and you've got this one up on screen. What are we looking at?
So we've got my cars in the background there, the orange and white one.
Yeah.
Which, as I said, I've owned for about 25 years. And then we've got the drag bus and then the 1953. As you can see, the height difference is pretty substantial.
It is.
So the drag bus has had a chop top done on the roof, and it's had a bit chopped off the bottom as well, just to get it a little bit smaller. And obviously, it's not the most aerodynamic car on the face of the planet, so any advantage we'll take.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the blue one next to it.
It's the it's one that we mentioned earlier. So it's done more miles on a boat than it has done on the road. And
it's in great condition, you can see that.
For these earlier models, so anything sort of pre-55 in Australia is pretty rare. Because we didn't really see them until, the sort of 54, 55 when they first started being released here.
Sure.
So next photo, we've got the drag bus. This was at Jamboree, the Sport Compact meet last August.
Yeah.
And we ran a modified compact there. And this was a pass that kind of got a bit out of hand. The wheelie bars bent quite badly, and we ended up with a monster wheel stand, but a pretty cool photo nonetheless.
It is a pretty cool photo. Now, the front of that vehicle is a good demonstration of what condition it was in when it was found in the paddock.
Yep, so you can see sort of just below where the toe sticker is, there's a slight gash in the front. That's an axe wound, and then you can't quite see the sides because there's a bullet hole here and there, and someone used it for a bit of target practice.
Yeah, so now that you've added, that's given that vehicle a second lease on life.
Absolutely,
it would have been stuck in a paddock. So for the purists out there, it's like, hey, this is one of the most popular vehicles, not only in Australia but on the planet. It's been in magazines and all sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of a YouTube hit. Videos and stuff have had just millions of hits. It's crazy.
Yeah. So
something we never thought would happen anyway, put it that way.
that's all right. What have we got next?
This is my brother's car, so Beetle, and fairly serious setup. So it's turbo EFI, so it's got all the sort of late ModCon technology sort of thing built into it.
Yeah.
It's making just over 400 horsepower at the wheels in a car that weighs, with him in it, about 770 odd kilos. So pretty quick.
Yeah.
And that's him.
What's it doing the quarter miling?
Hasn't run it over the quarter mile since he's had all this done. He's in the throes of actually modifying it even more.
Okay.
That's just what we do.
Yeah.
He's making some improvements to try and get it quicker again. But it's run a best over the 8th mile of I think it's about a 6.3.
Okay.
Which, like, a pretty serious V8 powered style car would be pretty happy with the time that quick. So
okay.
She's no slouch.
Okay.
Next photo, we've got the drag bus. This is he wins the best burnout at most meets because the thing does a serious burnout. And as you can
It's got some large tyres on it though.
It's got some big rubber under the back, and it will smoke them, as you can see, very easily. This is one of our other creations. So my cousin Daniel, that's got the 1953, the blue one, the real early one. This is another one of his creations that his brother Scott helped build, and it's a 63 model split screen panel van, and it's had a pretty serious bit of engineering done to it to lift it up with the big wheels. On the beach, this thing is unstoppable. And this is his this is Daniel's drag bus. So Daniel's got 4 split screens. So he's been collecting them for quite a long time. A lot of them.
Did he have his before you had yours? Like, has he been?
No, he's got most of his after I've got mine.
Okay.
I've had mine probably the longest out of everybody.
Okay.
Apart from my uncle, which I'll show you a picture of his car coming up. This was a bus. I think Daniel paid about $1,500 for this thing.
Wow. That's
years ago, and then decided he wanted to go racing as well. So then bought an engine from the States, and it all got out of hand really quickly, and things got serious. So she's now a full serious bit of drag gear with wheelie bars, and it's got big dollar engine in the back, and
it's lifting as well.
It's wheels off the ground, and it'll run a 10-second quarter mile.
Wow.
It's run, I think, a best of 11.4 at the moment, and that was previous to the upgrades that are in it now, so it's making a lot more power. And when the planets align and he keeps the thing in a straight line, it'll do it, no problem at all. And that's the setup in the back of the Porsche. The Porsche in the back of the split screen, as you can see.
That looks like something that...
the whole engine takes up the back of the bus sort of thing.
That's phenomenal. And the interesting thing to me, that looks like something that would launch space astronauts into space, mate. It's like, it's pretty full on.
It's, and it's just a Porsche 6-cylinder, 3-litre engine that we've put aftermarket electronic fuel injection on and turbo and tune. And it's apart at the moment. We're doing some upgrades. It's finally started to get a bit tired and had a breakage, so it's getting a major overhaul. And
will it be better? Is it the plan to make it better?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you don't go backwards.
No, because it's the reason I asked that is because it's the second fastest Kombi
in the world.
Yeah,
with upgrades, he said to me, he goes, "I'd like to run an 8-second pass now that I've run a 9." I went, okay. Yeah, we'll make some more power, and we'll find the next weakest link to something that will break, and then we'll fix that and go again. Now, this is my uncle who built the little Formula V. This is his, it's basically his workshop truck. He's owned this longer than I've owned my car.
That's a really nice looking vehicle, I must say. I reckon you could remake those and sell them today and make a mint. I reckon they just look so utilitarian.
Yeah, it is, and this thing, the amount
it is a ute too, actually.
Yeah, it's a dual cab.
Dual cab.
Yeah, so it seats 6. And then you've got the ute on the back. The amount of people who come up to him and go, "Oh, do you want to sell it?" And he's like, "No."
He's got a canopy on the side. So here, this is a camp vehicle as well. This is everything.
Yep.
This is
he goes to the beach, so he rolls out the awnings on the sides and the back, and folds the gates on the side, fold down. He sits his barbecue on there and barbecue on the beach.
Yeah,
nothing better. And it's got big wheels under it, and it's got plenty of power. And on the beach, it's another one of those vehicles that when you drive past 4-wheel drives, they just about break their necks out the window going, "What is that?"
Nice tone. Is that an original silver and blue, or has he chosen that?
He's chosen those colours.
I thought that
It
I
wasn't
didn't think it was,
wasn't an original colour scheme.
no.
But again, it's a colour scheme that suits the car and suits the era.
At the front of the vehicle, underneath on the underside there,
Yeah, big bash plate.
is that something that is an add-on to the vehicle? I can know most of yours have got those.
Yeah.
Was that something that the manufacturer created, or someone else came up with it?
No, he built all that. Just basically because it's up high when you're off road, dropping into holes and things like that. You've got steering dampeners and steering arms and stuff hanging down. So
So
just
got to protect them.
a bit of protection. And that's it. We're back to the start.
All right, mate. So that's pretty good. So the next generation are already lining themselves up for older Outlaws VW racing.
Yep.
And I really appreciate you coming and talking about your passion with us today.
No problem.
And look forward to seeing more of these vehicles hit the road as you continue to modify them and the next generation racing and getting some new records, mate.
For sure.
Thanks.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for taking time to watch this video. If you enjoyed what you saw, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you smash that subscribe button and also hit the bell button to get notified when new interviews are uploaded. Once again, thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again sometime. Catch you later.